Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really cool review for you from the brand Raven, which you haven't seen on my channel in quite some time. If you're a longtime viewer, you might remember my review of the Raven Trucker, which I really enjoyed, and still actually have in my collection. I just, sometimes I forget how many watches I have that I've accumulated over all these years doing this YouTube channel. But it's a brand that I've definitely kept my eye on, and they've just had some really awesome releases. Here's one of them I think is probably one of their best, and I think it's a really strong value proposition, and from a brand I think that's really refined its kind of brand aesthetic over the years into something that is beyond kind of just the homage with a twist that they were really known for kind of within their inception. So Raven was actually founded back in 2018, and they're actually headquartered out of the US. I'm sorry, 2008. I feel like I might have said 2018, but it was actually 2008. So quite some time ago. And they're really known for their vintage style homages with modern upgrades. And that's kind of what was their bread and butter for a long time. And now they're really moving towards more unique original designs, while still, of course, paying tribute to some of those classic looks of the past. Now, this particular type of watch is a dive watch. Some key common characteristics in design language: when you're looking for a dive watch, you're going to want water resistance, typically some type of screw down crown. You want something that's tough, legible, with a dive time bezel, and a diver's extension is always nice if on bracelet. Now, this particular model is called the Solitude, and it's basically a very curvaceous retro-inspired diver with multi-function bezel insert options, making for an ultra-versatile general sports watch option. So as you can see here, we have the full gamut of different bezel inserts. You got the steel, you got also the Loom, you got some gilt action, you even got some Pepsi, and then there's even different styles, right? You got the fully loomed dive bezel. You also do have that 12-hour traveler bezel, and then you even have a really cool Pepsi countdown bezel, which definitely draws more from the military heritage. So some really fun and interesting options here, and I'm really digging it. My personal model here is actually on the far left, which is this really cool kind of blue slate, almost pastel blue color with that's on the bracelet with a really cool 12-hour function there. Probably my second choice would be, it's not here, but I would probably go for the all black diver. The white dial with the black bezel also was really nice, but I think that one's already sold out. But that'd probably be my personal picks. But I think it's really nice to kind of have the different gambit of, there's of course the leather strap option, so we're gonna definitely get into the quality there, and then also this really cool rubber strap option, and then as well as cover the full steel bracelet. So with all that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. All right, so let's go ahead and probably take a look. We'll start with my personal model here as the camera focuses. And one of the things that I'm really hoping to get across to you guys is the color of this blue. It tricks the eye so well. Like when I'm at certain angles, it looks so much darker, and it's weird because it's actually a flat color. All of these are flat colors. It's not like there's any weird texturing or anything going on, but this one really has a way of playing with the light. But probably the way you're seeing it right now is very representative of what it actually looks like most of the time, which is actually a bit of a kind of blue slate, kind of grayish blue option that is really subdued, but it has this way of popping when it needs to. And then you can also see this beautiful bracelet here, lovely milled clasp, ratcheting, and you can also notice that the micro adjusts are actually functional on here. So big props to Raven for actually using the clasp with links that are thin enough and designed well enough to where you can actually utilize these to dial in your fitment. So needless to say, this is a really comfortable watch. Now, one thing I probably want to start out with that is really interesting, apart from the price, which is 480 bucks on the bracelet or 430 on either of the straps, is that the size of this is a little bit different than you might think. It's actually 42 diameter, but it has about a 40 around the bezel, and it honestly wears a lot like a 40. It kind of reminds me in a weird way of the Seiko SKX, in that that's a 42, and many people say it wears smaller. It wears a lot like a 40 because of the dimensions and because of the way the shape of that case just melts away. And as you can see here, here's some keys to how this case melts away on the wrist. Look at that contouring, really beautifully done. And then you got that beautiful high polished bevel. And then on the other side, it's really cool, a little bit of a different take. So it has this asymmetrical look because although you do have that high polished bevel, now the contouring actually swoops down right around the crown there. And so when you're winding this, you're actually using mostly the top portion of the crown, and you're not really grasping very much from the underneath. So that is just like one probably little finagle. So it's not going to be quite as natural as something that would have a little bit more of a symmetrical guard, but it ends up working out as far as, you know, the visual aesthetic is really, really quite handsome, and it really draws out that beautiful beveled edge. Now, the thickness, so although it's a 42, but it wears like a 40, the thickness is actually a 13 millimeters thick, but again, it melts a lot of that thickness away because of the way it contours around the wrist, and then just the general curvaceous nature of the case with the very short, you know, 47 millimeter lug to lug. Stainless steel, and then you do have, you know, brushed with polished highlights there, so really, really gorgeous from that standpoint. As far as the bezel action goes, it's pretty much the same bezel action, although they're different inserts. It's unidirectional, 120 clicks, so let's go ahead and hear it. Ooh, very nice. And a little trick for those of you who end up purchasing the 12-hour bezel, if you want to line up, you can. It's a little easier if you line up the 1 with the index there, so you know that it's right on point. Oh man, this thing is great. I really love just kind of the fun nature, and it doesn't look like, you know, a lot of other watches, which is nice because of the choice of just so many actually of the choices, mainly being this type of blue. You just don't see a blue dial like this very often, but this bracelet, I mean, the choice in the bracelet, definitely bold choice, beautiful taper to it. And it just has a really solid feel, and being well designed without being, you know, just a very simple kind of knockoff of other established bracelets. I think they do a great job of finding kind of their own design language and voice with this one. Really, really handsome. So the crystal is a sapphire, and it's double domed, as you can see. Even at harsh angles, it's quite readable. Very nice. And then the we could cover this, but we do have a beautifully signed crown, screw down, of course. The movement inside is your Seiko NH. Oh, look, I was trying to preserve it to make it just as nice as possible for this video, and I left a little protector on the back for you guys. So actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and pop that off, and so we'll do this together. So pulling this off now, so you get a nice pristine look at a case back, because the other models, of course, the other units are loaners, so they have been circulating, whether for photographs or for just basic press, and videos, of course. As you can see, really nice etching there, solid. It's not a display case back, but really, really quite handsome. What I'm going to do is actually break rank and throw it on the wrist while I actually take a look at some of these other ones. So this one, absolutely gorgeous. It kind of gives you that alpinist vibe, you know, with the gilt in green, and then but instead you get that black bezel, which I think ties in definitely very on trend with the two-tone with the gold and steel, and then the black, and then you add the green, and then of course this beautiful vintage non-tapering strap, really beautifully done. And I really dig the ivory stitching there, so very, very nice. As you can see, genuine leather, handmade, really nicely machined. So you can see even the hardware, really quite nice. And then this bezel action. The nice thing is when it's actually on strap, like most divers, it frees up to really get a nice grip. and enjoy that bezel action. Really nice. Cool. So let's take a look at this bad boy here now on the rubber. I'm really digging this gray. As you can see, kind of it has, you know, the blue here is a bit of a blue gray, but this gray is really, really nice. Nice, modern, clean. And if it's something you're looking for just a little bit darker than a black and white setup, this gray dial I think does a really nice job of having that two-tone palette and that contrast without it just being super, super vanilla. And at the same time still remaining really versatile, because you can pretty much wear black and gray with anything. So it's just as versatile as a black you know, dial watch is, a gray dial watch will be just as versatile as well. And I think the color, the choice of the gray here is really nice. And then of course this one, oh look, this guy actually still has, I'll leave that on there then. But really nice. You can get a look at these drilled lugs, and this strap is really quite comfortable and really nice hardware as well. Nice little branding. You can see not too much of a dust magnet, but you know, this is an option that comes with the watch. It's not like this is some, you know, super high-end aftermarket rubber dive strap. And you guys have known, if you watch the channel, I've gone into some crazy expensive rubber straps, and this one, as far as something that comes out of the box, it's one of the better straps that I've seen. So really nice, and I think it really fits that aesthetic, and really keeps it quite modern and sleek. It's weird to see the real contrast you get from essentially the same watch, but it's such a, like, this looks so much more modern and kind of military inspired, versus here it just screams that vintage kind of 70s vibe. So really, really cool. And then here, I did not size this bracelet so you can see how big this guy is without anything done to it. And it has this really cool Pepsi layout there, but with a countdown timer. So that's a different take on it. So although it's, you know, you've seen Pepsi bezel inserts before, I think, you know, with that 55, that's really, of course, 60-minute countdown bezel, I think that is a really nice touch. So as you can see there, these are all engraved, and then they just happen to be filled with Loom or with paint. You know, here actually, this one actually isn't engraved. This one has the printing on there, but then of course the applied Loom pip, and then these guys here are going to have the engraving, and then they're just filled with Loom. So really great. Let's actually set up some Loom shots for you guys, but let's also take a quick look and make sure we get this wrist action. So yeah, let's go ahead and set up the Loom shots. All right, let's go ahead and hit the lights. So as you can see, that BGW9 Loom looks absolutely great. You can see there's actually quite a difference there, kind of between each layout with the bezels. Of course, on the far end, you're gonna have that stainless steel insert with no Loom pip. Then you're gonna have that nice gilt insert with the 12 o'clock Loom pip. Then you're gonna have the fully indexed as well. Let me see here. Let's go ahead and get some low light transition. And actually, let's maybe get a little bit of an extra charge on these guys so you can kind of get a nice little look at that full bezel. I didn't get these charged up too much, but let me get that dive bezel charged a little bit better so you guys can take a look at that. So really, really quite nice. As you can see there, the Loom is very strong and really well applied. And then you get the low light transition to give you a little bit of a better look at how these colors are going to render when not in optimal lighting, of course, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field or something like that. You know, out on a bright summer's day, sometimes you're going to be, and most of the time you're probably going to be coming in and out of a building or a vehicle or something like that. So it's nice to get a little bit of an idea. Plus, my studio lights do a really good job of washing out some of those fine details you're going to see in the brushing and whatnot. But here you can see much harsher lighting situation. And if you follow the way the light plays on this brushing, you can really tell just quite how well executed and how handsomely done that brushing is. Really, really nice. So let's go ahead and, you know, let's talk about it, guys. These are really nice. I can see why they've been so well received. You know, it's definitely a brand I've had my eye on. I loved that they have gone, you know, kind of this way where their look, I can recognize a Raven watch amongst other Raven watches, which I think is really cool. And amongst any other micro brand, I feel like they have their own distinctive language, which not every micro brand does have, especially when it's a minimalist aesthetic like this. I think that's really important that they can pull that off, and really quite impressive. Again, you know, you get different options here. You get ratchet and clasp options with the bracelet. You're going to get that leather vintage style strap. You're going to get, of course, beautiful rubber modern strap. All in 20 millimeters, drilled lugs, so easy changes on that. As far as model variations go, of course, guys, there's tons of different variations. This is just a small sample of that, so definitely check their site for availability. I'll leave links in the description below. And then as far as, you know, comparable models go, there's a ton of competition in this price point, guys. Under 500 bucks it's dicey, to say the least. There's just a lot, and there's a wide range of some really high value, some not so great value watches in this range. But one thing I will say about the Solitude is that it really keeps pace with the best in this range, guys. And I own and I've reviewed many of the best watches under 500 that are divers, sports watches in general. And I gotta say, the finishing, the fit, the finish, I'm very, very impressed and happy to see that things are still going so well for this brand, although they haven't been on the channel for a while and they've been a little bit off my radar. I'm glad to have kind of kept a close eye and had the opportunity to share this line with you guys. So with all that said, you know, I'd say the bottom line is these are finely executed, very thoughtfully designed, and a solid value. So, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do hit like, and if you're not already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.